Hi, my name is Michelle Boulé, and I am a life coach, a healer, and for over 20 years, I was based in New York City as a dancer, choreographer, and teacher, and left in January, early, like the first week of January this year, to live nomadically, which got challenged, but because of the situation. But here I am in Montana for the time being, and I'm really honored to be here, to have been asked to create something in support of artists or others in need during this time. I hope you find some nugget or many nuggets of information and experience that can serve you in this moment and beyond. So what we're going to do is a couple things. We're going to do a brain balancing technique. I'm going to share some principles on creation and thought to support you. We're going to do a short movement practice, and we'll end with a very short, just little healing check-in. Yeah, so that's it. So the first thing we're going to start with is called cortices. It's from the Body Talk system. And what it is a brain balancing technique. It helps bring the halves of your brain, the two hemispheres, into better communication. But the thing of primary importance that it does that can support you now is it helps to reset your nervous system. It helps to connect you back into what is called your parasympathetic nervous system, where you can rest, where you can regenerate, you can create, you get to grow and heal. And the opposite of that is sympathetic, when you're in fight or flight, when you're running away from the bear or the tiger, metaphorically, unless you are in Montana, running away from a bear. When you're in that sympathetic nervous system, you can't create, you can't connect, you can't digest or assimilate. And a lot of times what can happen is our nervous system gets hijacked, so to speak, by the sympathetic nervous system. So we think everything is a stressor. And we're not meant to live in a prolonged state of stress. That function was built to kick in and then to quiet down. So I'll share this technique with you, which should start to immediately reset that. And the more you do this, the more cumulative the effect is. It's like you're training the muscle to come into a deeper state of connection, relaxation, and as creative people, I always like to say creativity. When we're in that fight or flight state, in that sympathetic nervous system, we lose the function of our frontal lobe, that highly creative center, because the body's just focusing on survival. So this is helping us go from survival to creation. Cortices is plural for cortex, which is this outer layer of your brain, which is a map of everything that's going on. So we're bringing awareness. It's like a deep self check-in to what's going on through scanning the brain. And as I said, we're resetting the nervous system to be in the parasympathetic: connection, growth, integration, assimilation, creativity. So you're going to take one hand and you're going to place it on the base of your skull, and you're focusing below the skull into that cortex brain, that outer walnut shape. With your one hand there, that's the area where we're focusing on balancing and lighting up and bringing into connection. You're going to take your other hand and gently tap over the top of your head and take a deep breath, inviting your whole body into movement. Tap over your heart center and take a deep breath, so right over your sternum. Tap over your gut brain. So I'm tapping right, I can't magically stand up from the ground right now. I'm tapping right on my belly button, below my belly button, my gut brain, my enteric brain, all the small intestines, large intestines. Deep breath. And if you can't do this for some reason, because of you can't do this with your arms, just tune into what I'm doing. You can imagine it. Your brain doesn't know the difference. So from here, take your hand and walk it up to the next area of your brain and go ahead and tap again. So you're going to tap head, take a deep breath. You're going to tap heart center. Slowing down the breathing. You're going to tap gut brain. And inviting every particle, every cell, every molecule of your body into motion with your breath. In that way, you are able to witness yourself through that motion. Take your hand and walk it up to the next part. You're going to tap right over your hand. Take a deep breath. So every part, feel the back of your body moving, feel the bottoms, surfaces of your body moving, your legs, your arms. Tap head, heart, and gut. You may want to tap longer or shorter than I'm tapping, but basically with every section of the brain, you tap head, heart, and gut. Bringing yourself into connection, into creation, into rest, regeneration. When we're connected, we feel safe. Take your hand forward again, tap. If your arm's getting tired, you can always switch and just tap with the other hand or just rest your arms for a moment. And the fuller the breath, but easy, you don't have to hyperventilate. The fuller the breath, the more you can invite every particle of your being into motion, the more your nervous system is able to register what's going on. Head, heart, and gut. Deep breaths. Invite yourself into being witnessed through the awareness, the movement of your breath. Go to your forehead. If you've already done forehead, depending on the size of your hand or your head, it doesn't matter. You can just do it again if you want to just stay with my timing. So the head, we tap over the brain. It brings things, it rebalances things, sees what's going on, fixes any problems. We tap over the heart. It memorizes and stores this information, reminds every cell of its job as it beats. We tap over the gut for deep digestion, discernment, to integrate that super important gut brain into the picture. Last thing, take both hands, place them on the sides of your head to cover what are called the temporal cortices, if you like to nerd out on the information of your brain, your cortex brain. And also just by placing your hands on the sides of your head, you create what's called a 0-point field. So just even with the hands on the sides of your head here, just your brain, your nervous system can just start to calm down like a very quiet mountain lake, many of which are close by here. So go ahead and tap on your head. Just rotate your fingers and tap. Hold the sides of your head again, take a deep breath. Tap over your heart, you just take one hand away and tap. Hold the sides of your brain again, take a deep breath. And tap over your gut brain. So again, use that tool. Notice how you feel. Use that tool anytime you're feeling stressed out, just to get a reset. And you can also use it preventively. So you just start to reset how your nervous system is operating. So just briefly, some things I want to share with you, remind you of, is that it's highly likely, if you're watching this, that you are incredibly tapped into your creativity. And a time like this is asking us to create anew. And the main point I want to share with you is to just notice how you're thinking. Because everything starts, we get an image, you know this as a creator, there's an image, something, and we intend it into reality. We take it into action, into reality. But it starts with an image and thought in the mind. And the way it works, there's a law of transmutation that energy is, and it's just constantly going in and out of form. And how that works with you is that it's following what you're thinking. Energy is following what you're thinking. You can call it energy, you can call it spirit, you can call it God, whatever. If you want to use religion or quantum science or whatever it is, your choice. But this is a law of operation in the universe. So when you catch yourself saying, I'm really struggling with this, or I'll never be able to find a solution to this, or whatever those thoughts are, to be very mindful of that and know that that's what you're filtering through. This is so incredibly hard and painful. So then the universe is like, cool, it's hard and painful. Let's make more of that. Whatever comes through grows. So it's not, so it's just like, okay, for every problem, there is also a solution. Everything is created as a whole. The word healing means to make whole. So if you're focused on the problem, you'll get more of the problem. If you start to acknowledge this, just the truth that everything is made whole, if there's a problem, there's also a solution. If there's an up, there's also a down. If there's a right, there's also a left. And we can look at the whole picture, but where do you want to focus? So it's not just being Pollyanna and saying, oh my God, it's a great world. It's like, it's coming into being, not, like through thinking, through allowing your body. And that's why I want to do this movement practice with you, to get on board with those thoughts, but getting all of these pieces working together so that whatever is coming through you goes through a filter of possibility, of wonder, of connection, of creation, of gratitude. So even right now, find one thing that you are grateful for. I'm grateful to be here sharing this with you. I'm grateful for this information that I've been able to study and grow and embody. I'm grateful for this ground that I get to sit on. So find one thing that you're grateful for. And that's also something to start to immediately shift your energy, to elevate it to possibility, to be feeling held, feeling connected. And just, for the rest of the day, the night, whenever you're watching this, for a week, for a month, for your lifetime, if you're ambitious, look at what you're saying. Just really watch what you're saying, because you are a powerful creator. And if you keep saying it's hard, you'll keep creating hard. And this is this can like open up a lifetime of examination. But I think it's important just to acknowledge how involved we are in the creation of our realities. How involved we are in the creation of our realities. So I'm not going to say too much. I'm not going to go into that further. I want to share this movement practice with you, which I've been doing for a number of years now. And I call it moving with innate wisdom. And the basic premise is that there is, just looking at this beautiful landscape here, there is a wisdom coursing through everything. There's a wisdom coursing through everything that is always organizing, including you, that is always organizing you towards life. Humans, we have this amazing capacity to think, so we start to get in the way of that expression sometimes, but this tree that I'm looking at, it's not questioning whether it's a tree. There's also a goose poop here. If it has consciousness, it's just goose poop. The animals they're not questioning who they are. So there's this organizing wisdom, and to be able, as I was saying before, to bring that incredible capacity of your mind to keep aligning you towards more life, more possibility, more growth. So in this movement practice, this basic premise of you have an innate wisdom that is aligning you towards your highest expression, your highest potential, your best health, your fullest growth. And I like to say, I don't know what that looks like, because we have a lot of conditioned ideas about what that is, which then limit the expression that can come through. So with this practice, I like to just invite people to say, okay, this is wisdom. We're in the practice right now. This is wisdom. And I can ask myself, what wants to move? What wants to be expressed? And I can start to listen to the impulses in my body for movement. And I can choose to see this as wisdom, even though it doesn't look like a stretch or like a yoga pose. If I have to make sound, if I have to wave my hand around, my ring's gonna come off, for 5 minutes, we have such a limited understanding of all of the organizing, of all of the consciousness that is organizing this creation, yourself, this environment into being. But this practice allows me to say, okay, this is wisdom. I'm going to let this be wisdom. And, you know, if you know about different things in the body, you might be like, oh, maybe she's working on the reciprocal of this, which is her left ankle. Maybe she's moving, she's increasing her circulation, whatever it is, but we don't need to know that in the moment. It's like, you know, that John Cage quote, you can't create and analyze at the same time. So this is a place, you can do this lying in your bed. If you're called to during this time to lie down and take a nap, there's this amazing gong here. I'm gonna ring the gong at the end. It sounds better than that. But you'll hear that at the end, and that'll just wake you up or bring you back to this spot. I'm gonna just let myself spread out in this space. And let's call this the beginning. We'll do this for about 8 minutes. So just following, listening to your breath, listening to the movement impulses that arise. Your body might want to, mine is wanting to shake and jiggle a little bit right now. You might want to just kind of roll your joints around. So I'll just give you some prompts and then I'll be quiet. You might want to let things get really tense and release them. But whatever is here arising is wisdom. Whatever is here arising is wisdom. If you find yourself going into thinking, just cycle your mind, your awareness, back to the experience of your breath and the experience of your movement. So you can wrap up whatever movement you're doing, or let yourself, if you've been resting, just come back to this other level of attention. That was very short. I like doing this practice for at least, I would say at least 15 minutes, if not, in a group setting, I love doing it for like 35 to 45 minutes because you just get to keep dropping in. But I would say if it helps you to listen to how I'm talking about this, if you're watching this again, and you can set your timer and do it for as long as you wish. And I would recommend tapping out your cortices prior to beginning it also. Everything that shows up is wisdom. Everything that shows up can organize you towards your highest health, your fullest potential, your best expression. That's what we're here to do. So I'm just going to do one little tune in. This is something I do in my group work using energy and consciousness based healing. Again, healing means to make whole. This is influenced very much by my 12 years of work with something called the body talk system. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it to keep this under 30 minutes. What I'm doing is just tuning in. There's a whole protocol chart that I'm following and asking what the priorities are for healing. So we're working with a fear. And it's the fear of your greatness. And if you tune into more of my work and what I've been teaching and how I lead my groups, I think you'll understand the levels of this, but maybe even just by hearing this, something might resonate as true. It's an amazing thing. It can be very scary to tap into your own power and your own greatness. So by bringing this up as a priority for healing, we start to neutralize the charge around it. If you're afraid of it, it's just there's not an ability to move into it with ease, to move into it with acceptance. It may just be because some part of you was told it's not, that greatness wasn't accepted when you were a child. Some context, it wasn't, what you weren't taught to see it as safe, as honorable, as a way to connect. So we're tapping out fear of greatness, your own greatness. And we're going to take deep breaths as we tap. So same thing, tapping head, heart, and gut. And just take deep breaths if this resonates with you. I think the geese like it. Deep breaths, tapping head, heart, and gut. To move towards embracing your greatness, your power, what you are here to contribute. Head, heart, and gut. Take a deep breath. Okay, so thank you for joining and watching. If you want to do more of this with me, go to michelleboulé.com. You can look at my coaching and healing stuff. Connect with me on Instagram and Facebook. It's just Michelle Boulé, michelle.boulé on Instagram. I do a lot of little freebies like this, and really just want to close this with saying what an honor it is to create, what an honor it is to be given that gift, and wishes for you to continue to create and to share in alignment with your beautiful truth. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, your morning, your day.